A silver lining for U.S. stock markets, 25% plunge. Japan voices concern on yen's 32-year low. The next BQ 1.1 and XBB COVID wave is coming. Sellers slash home prices in U.S. housing market. SpaceX will keep funding Starlink in Ukraine despite losing money. Scholz pushes for EU to end unanimity on decisions. Singaporeans will get up to $500 of government support. Japan to end restrictions on women remarrying after divorce.
Hello, I'm Johnny. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It's Monday, October 17th, and here are your top stories. One of the first on Wall Street to warn of a potential lost decade late last year, Bank of America strategist Savita Subramanian said in a note last Friday, a valuation model used by the bank suggests forward annualized price returns of 6% for the S&P 500 over the next decade. That's the highest return forecast since May 2020. She noted valuation matters long-term, explaining 80% of subsequent 10-year S&P 500 returns. And this year's bear market provides an attractive opportunity for long-term investors.
According to Subramanian, if the forecast is accurate, it could put the S&P 500 at just above 6,500 by 2032, representing a potential upside of nearly 80% from late Thursday's close. With the addition of a 2% dividend yield, total annualized returns could be as high as 8%. But she said short-term predictions for the stock market seem volatile and near-term pain remains. She noted that only 20% of her bull market indicators have flashed positive so far. Typically, prior stock market bottoms have seen 80% of those indicators flash green.
After the yen touched a 32-year low, Japan's chief currency official Masato Kanda said late Friday in Washington, excessive currency moves have negative effects on the economy and the country is ready to take bold action to stem currency volatility if they continue. He said the current situation is increasing the chances that Japan will have to take necessary steps again. Kanda said we would take appropriate steps against excessive moves, especially if that's led by speculative trading.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
The yen touched a low of 148.86 versus the dollar last Friday, the weakest level since August 1990, before ending the session at 148.67. Japan's finance minister Shunichi Suzuki said earlier in the day, Japan is deeply concerned about rapidly increasing volatility in FX markets. The yen has seen unprecedentedly sharp and one-sided movements, with speculative activities behind such moves. He said excessive FX volatility or disorderly movements can have adverse implications for economic and financial stability.
Of all 300 post-BA.5 sublineages currently being monitored by the World Health Organization, experts are most concerned about two Omicron spinoffs that have barely even registered in America yet, BQ 1.1 and XBB. Since XBB in particular is significantly more immune evasive, scientists found that while less vulnerable people might not get seriously ill if they catch BQ 1.1 or XBB, vaccination or prior infection may be less likely than ever to stop them from catching it in the first place.
The degree of immunity these vaccines have.
The media said BQ 1.1 is a descendant of BA.5. XBB is a descendant of BA.2. Across Europe, from Italy to Austria to Sweden, COVID hospitalizations are already shooting up as the weather cools. While BQ 1.1 is outcompeting its rivals, it still has a ton of room for growth. Numbers are likely to get worse before they get better. Meanwhile, XBB is driving steep COVID case surges in Singapore and Bangladesh, two of the first countries where it has achieved dominance.
As the 10-year Treasury note is trending above 4%, the U.S. mortgage rate is likely to go above 7%, signaling a multi-decade high. U.S. real estate brokerage Redfin found that 7.9% of homes for sale on the market each week had their prices slashed at a record high. That's compared to just 4% of homes having their prices reduced each week over the same period a year ago. The company's data shows that a quarter of homes right now are dropping prices.
Redfin said the median home on the market was listed at over $367,000, up 7% over last year. According to Freddie Mac, the monthly mortgage for that home at the current interest rate of 6.92% is $2,559. A year ago, when rates were at 3.05%, that monthly payment would have just been $1,698. Redfin found sellers are dropping their prices by 4 to 5% on average in the U.S. housing market now. Redfin said given how quickly rates rose and eroded buying power, you would almost expect it to be a lot worse.
I always needed time on my own. I never thought I could do that.
I take your blessings with your heartaches too. It's so easy and so wonderful to know it's you.
学习，一切从今天开始。Funday 英语。
Reuters reported Elon Musk said last Saturday that his rocket company SpaceX would continue to fund its Starlink internet service in Ukraine, a day after he said it could no longer afford to do so. Musk tweeted, "The hell with it. Even though Starlink is still losing money and other companies are getting billions of taxpayer dollars, we'll just keep funding the Ukraine government for free." Reuters said it was not immediately clear whether Musk's offer was genuine or if he was expressing sarcasm.
Musk said last Friday that SpaceX could not indefinitely fund Starlink in Ukraine. He made his remark after a media report that SpaceX had asked the Pentagon to pay for the donations of Starlink. Pentagon spokeswoman Sabrina Tsai said, "We can confirm the department received correspondence from SpaceX about the funding of Starlink, their satellite communications product in Ukraine. We remain in communication with SpaceX about this and other topics."
Speaking at the Congress of the Party of European Socialists in Berlin, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz called for gradually abolishing the principle of unanimity for decisions in foreign policy, but also in other areas such as taxes. He said, "I know that we still have a lot of convincing to do there, but I also say clearly, if a geopolitical Europe is our aspiration, then majority decisions are again and not a loss of sovereignty. Currently, many EU decisions can only be made if all countries vote unanimously."
Following his call for reforms of the European Union to make it fit for the admission of new countries, Scholz also supports more military autonomy of the EU. He called for coordinated procurement of weapons and equipment, the establishment of an EU Rapid Reaction Force by 2025, and an EU headquarters for European armed forces. He said in Europe, "We need better interplay between our defense efforts. In the future, Europe will need a coordinated increase in capabilities. We must confidently and jointly advance European defense."
Under the cost of living special payment measure announced last Friday by the Singaporean Finance Ministry, 2.5 million eligible adult Singaporeans who earned below 100,000 Singaporean dollars this year and own a maximum of one property will receive up to 500 Singaporean dollars as part of a 1.5 billion Singaporean dollars support package to help offset higher costs of living for lower to middle income groups. It will be paid out in December. Also, 100 Singaporean dollars in Community Development Council CDC vouchers will be given to every Singaporean household in January 2023.
The media said the $100 vouchers brings the total amount of CDC vouchers to be disbursed in January to $300. Separately, to allay the higher cost of public transportation, 600,000 public transport vouchers worth $30 each will be given to resident households with a monthly household income per person of under $1,600. The ministry said the support package will be funded from the better-than-expected fiscal outturn in the first half of 2022, which means there will be no draw on past reserves.
In a bid to reduce the number of babies who remain unregistered and face difficulty in accessing healthcare and education, the Japanese cabinet approved a bill last Friday to change a 19th century law deciding the paternity of a child born after divorce, under which paternity will be awarded to the mother's spouse at the time of the birth. The revised legislation, set to be presented to Parliament for passage in the current session, will also end a ban on pregnant women remarrying within 100 days of divorce.
Under an 1898 civil code that's still in force, a child born to a woman within 300 days of divorce is considered to be that of her former husband, even if she is remarried. Many women opt not to register their children rather than comply with the regulation, especially in cases of domestic abuse. The media reported children who are unregistered face hurdles in accessing public education, can't get usual healthcare coverage, and generally can't get passports issued. Paternity law is the main reason behind these problems.
Funday News will help you sharpen your English skills and keep you informed about international current events. If you want to know more about our other programs and keep learning about the world's most important topics in English, please click the link in the description below to join Funday for free. I'm Johnny Wu, your host. I will see you next time.